use numbers responsibly, you should learn the rules of arithmetic: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Arithmetic may seem trivial, but some complications arise when you combine numbers of different types. In this video, we'll cover arithmetic in version 3. If you're using Python version 2, then you'll want to watch our other video. Version 3 arithmetic begins now. In Python version 3, there are 3 types of numbers: ints, floats, and complex numbers. And in arithmetic, there are 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. To use arithmetic in Python, you first need to understand the idea of narrower and wider types. Any int value can also be represented by a float, but not the other way around. To convert an int to a float, just add a 0.0 at the end. Another way to do this is to pass an integer to the float constructor. But not all floats can be converted to ints. For example, the number 3.14 is a decimal. It's not a whole number. If you try to change it to an int, the number is first rounded, then made into an int. It's no longer the same number. So we say ints are narrower than floats. You can also say that floats are wider than ints. Similarly, any float can be made into a complex number, but not vice versa. To convert a float to a complex number, just add 0j to the number, or pass the number to the complex constructor. If you try to convert a complex number to a float, you get a type error. So floats are narrower than complex numbers. We can also say that complex numbers are wider than floats. Let's now explore the 4 arithmetic operations in Python. We'll start by creating 3 numbers, 1 for each type. A is an int, B is a float, and C is a complex number. The rule of thumb is when combining 2 numbers of different types, Python will convert the narrower type to the wider type, then perform the operation. Addition. If we add A and B, we are adding an int and a float. Floats are wider than ints, so Python converts A to a float, then adds. The result is 8 as a float, not 8 as an int. Subtraction. If we compute B minus A, we are subtracting an int from a float. Ints are narrower than floats, so Python widens A to a float, then subtracts. The result is 4.0, which is a float. Multiplication. If we multiply A and 7, we are multiplying 2 ints. No widening is required, and the result is 14. Division. Divide C by B. Floats are narrower than complex numbers, so B is widened to a complex number before the division. We get 2 plus 0j. While this is the same as the integer 2, Python stores it as a complex number. You can tell because it has an imaginary part. Don't forget that Python uses j as the square root of -1, not I. Recall that when you divide one number by another using long division, you get 2 numbers, a quotient and a remainder. In Python version 2, dividing 2 whole numbers would return the quotient, not the actual value. This has been changed in Python 3. Now, if you divide 2 whole numbers, the result is a float. Even if there is no remainder, the value is still a float. The percent operator returns the remainder of the long division. And if you want the quotient, you use a double division symbol. Don't forget the big exception in arithmetic. You cannot divide by 0. In math, it is undefined, and in Python, it throws a 0 division error. Be careful when dividing 2 numbers. Unless you are certain the denominator is not 0, you will have to be prepared for this possibility. When combining 2 numbers using addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, Python will widen any numbers to make sure all values are of the same type. Unlike Python 2, division in Python 3 returns the correct math value as a float or complex number. It does not return the quotient. And don't forget what happens when you divide by 0.